everyone, this is Marika and welcome back to another session with me. We are dealing with the 6th unit in communication and education, which is methods of teaching. We have discussed various interesting methods of teaching, what are the purposes of those methods, what are the different principles, their characteristics, what are the various advantages and disadvantages of each of the method. Today, we are going to deal with a very important and a very interesting topic that is also one of a method of teaching, that is micro teaching. Now this method or this term may be a new term for you guys. Let us now see in detail what is micro teaching, how is it carried out, and what are the different characteristics of micro teaching, how is it useful in terms of education, and what are the different merits and demerits of micro teaching. Before I go on about micro teaching, we know that teaching is a very important aspect in education system. We have already discussed about learning and teaching, how are those activities carried out and why it is important to actually carry out a teaching procedure in an efficient way. Teaching is not an easy task and the teacher needs to develop wide range of skills in order to be efficient and effective to take a particular class. Now, to become a teacher, individual has to take up the right course and right training to become an effective teacher. We have seen what is teaching and what are the different principles that are followed, what are the different maxims of teaching. We know that teaching is not an easy job and it requires a lot of skills for an individual to become a good teacher. Now let us see what is micro teaching. The model of micro teaching was started or initiated from Stanford University, USA. Now, what is micro teaching? What actually happens in micro teaching? To summarize micro teaching, or to say it in a general way, micro teaching is an innovative method of teaching in which there is a student teacher or a student who is undergoing the training of teaching. So, micro teaching is one of the innovative method of teaching in which there is a trainee teacher, which means a student who is acting like a teacher or is undergoing a training to become an efficient teacher. This student teacher or the trainee teacher conducts a class for a small group of people or a small classroom for a very small period of time. Micro teaching is a method of teaching in which there is a student who is undergoing the training of becoming a teacher, and this student is given a very small class, maybe a few number of students, and a very small topic to teach for a very small period of time. That is micro teaching. I know it might be confusing. You must have at least got an idea about what micro teaching is. We'll see in detail slowly what it is and how it actually takes place. Till now, you must have understood that micro teaching, from the term itself, you can understand everything. The quantity of the students in the class, the size of the content is decreased, and a student or a trainee teacher is asked to deliver the lecture on a small topic to a small number of students. Why are we giving a trainee or a student teacher very small number of students a very short topic to present for a very short period of time? Why is it done? This is intended to enhance the skill of the teacher. So when I'm saying teacher here, you have to understand a teacher is a student who is undergoing a training. It is a trainee teacher. So this micro teaching is done. It is asked for the students to carry out so that they enhance the skills of teaching. In micro teaching, one skill at a time is focused. A small topic is given. The particular trainee or the student teacher has to focus on that particular skill and try to develop their skills which is required for teaching. Doing so will help the teacher, a supervisor, and as well as the trainer to focus on one skill at a time. The student or the trainee teacher can focus on one skill and enhance their particular skill, whereas the supervisor can also only focus and supervise that particular skill of the trainee teacher. We can say that micro-teaching is a procedure, it is a method which is aimed at simplifying the complexity of the teaching process. So in a regular teaching process, large number of students are to be handled who have different understanding range, who have different skills or who have different perception. The classroom is large, so the management of classroom is also difficult. And when a particular topic is to be dealt, the teacher has to have an in-depth knowledge about the topic before delivering it to the students. The trainee teacher is given a very small topic and a very small classroom with around 5 to 10 students whom he has to teach. What happens? The trainee teacher gets exposure of the classroom, teaches in a real life situation, but with much simplicity. The entire regular teaching complex process is simplified. That is what micro teaching is aimed at, simplifying the complexity of a regular teaching procedure. This micro teaching will also help the teacher, as I said, the supervisor teacher, to focus on one skill at a time. Not just for the supervisor teacher, but also for the trainee to focus on one skill at a time. They can also work on one skill, enhance their skill, and master the particular skill during a particular session of micro teaching. Whereas the supervisor can also only focus on a particular skill while the class is being delivered, whether the student or the trainee is able to achieve those skills or not, and what are the improvements that the trainee can bring in to get those skills properly. For the supervisor teacher as well, it is difficult to assess all the skills of a trainee at one particular session and give all the necessary correction. It requires time. The teacher might not be able to assess each and every skill at a particular time with great efficiency. With micro teaching, the teacher can focus on one particular skill of the trainee and give them corrections so that they can master those skills and knowledge. As I said, through micro teaching, the supervisor can give proper attention to the deficiencies of the participating students. They can find out what are the deficiencies in those skills. They can give them necessary correction and also help them attain proficiency in those skills by providing proper assistance and guidance to the participating students or the trainee students. Micro teaching has been proven to be beneficial in order to learn good teaching skills. To become a teacher who's effective, who's competent, micro teaching is one of the way through which proper skills can be learned by the individual. I hope you've understood what micro teaching is. Let us see what is the definition of micro teaching. The definition of micro teaching says that it is a scaled down teaching in which the complexities are reduced in terms of size of the classroom, duration of the class, the topic that is selected, the skills that are focused on, and the range of activities that are carried within the classroom. As I said from the very beginning, in a general or a regular classroom, the classroom management is difficult because there are a large number of students. Every student have different understanding, every student have different perception, every student have different intellectual capacities. They have different disciplines, they have different way of dealing with things. So in micro teaching, it is a scaled down teaching. In this, the complexity of regular teaching procedure is decreased in terms of size of the classroom. As I said, a very few number of students will be kept in the classroom during micro teaching. So the size of the classroom will be decreased. The duration of the lesson. So regularly when we see in general aspect, a duration of a particular period is 45 minutes. But here in micro teaching, the duration is decreased and a particular student is usually asked to teach for 6 to 10 minutes. The range of activities the teacher or the trainee student has to carry out is also decreased. They get to teach a particular or very small and a single topic at a time, and they can also focus on one particular skill at a time. This definition summarizes micro teaching as a scaled down teaching where the complexity of a regular classroom is decreased in terms of size, in terms of the lesson, in terms of the range of activities, the skills to be focused on, and also the management of the classroom. Micro teaching is usually used in pre-service. Pre-service means before someone actually gets and starts doing the job. Micro teaching is used for pre-service as well as in service. While in the service also, micro-teaching is used to evaluate the development of the particular teacher within the teaching profession. It is also used for professional development of the teacher. Micro-teaching is used in pre-service, which means before getting the job or before actually going to the job. In the pre-service phase, the person can undergo micro-teaching to learn the skills that is required for him in later life. As well as it can be used during the in-service time of the teacher for their own development, so that they develop and they enhance the skill that they have already developed. Or it can also be used in order to evaluate their efficiency in teaching. The number of students in a micro-teaching setup is only 5 to 10. As I said, usually it is for 5 to 10 number of students that a class has to be taken, and the duration is around 5 to 20 minutes. It depends on every institution, it depends on every class, and it depends on the purpose of micro-teaching. There will be only around 5 to 10 students to whom the student or the trainee has to take the class for, and the duration is usually 5 to 20 minutes. I hope you've now understood what micro-teaching is. Let us now see what are the characteristics of micro-teaching. The first one is micro-element. So from the term itself, we can understand micro. Here, in micro-element, all the complexities are reduced and it is made minimal. In terms of the number of students to be taught, as I said, the number of students will be only for around 5 to 10 students. The complexity to deal with a large number of class is decreased. Next one is subject matter to be taught. As I said, in a regular classroom, we usually see in every institution around 45 minutes of time is allotted for a particular teacher. So you can imagine the content to be dealt within 45 minutes of time. It is a long period of time. So the teacher has to deal with a large content during that given period of time. But in micro-teaching, the subject matter that is given to the student as a topic to be taught to around 5 to 10 students is very less. And the next one is duration of the lesson. As we have seen, the duration of the lesson depends on each classroom, on each institution, and also depends on the purpose for which micro-teaching is being conducted. Usually it is for 5 to 20 minutes. Usually it is for 5 to 20 minutes. The duration that is given to the student trainee to teach the class is much lesser. Next one is the number of objectives. As we know, before conducting any class, before carrying out any session, a lesson plan is prepared where we state what are our objectives that are to be met. Here, the number of objectives obviously will be decreased because the number of students are less, the content that is being taught is less, and also the duration is less. The objectives are also lessened. And the last one under micro-element is it is a highly individualized training procedure. Of course, it is a highly individualized training procedure that is provided to each and every individual, where special focus is given to all of their skills and their knowledge, and they are asked to train themselves on those skills and attain mastery before they actually move on to the next step. It is a highly individualized training for each and every individual, and it is the opportunity for all the students, trainee, to also get trained and learn those skills. The second characteristics we have is teaching skills and strategies. Now, what comes under teaching skills and strategies? Let us see. Teaching skills and strategies are divided into 3 different aspects, that is pre-instructional, instructional, and post-instructional skills. First, let us see what are pre-instructional skills, what are instructional skills, and what are post-instructional skills. The pre-instructional skills usually includes the phase where the objectives are written down for the particular content or for the particular session. First thing to do in pre-instructional skill is to learn how to write the objectives of the lesson that you are going to deal or you're going to teach to the students. The second one is sequencing and ordering or orderly arranging the presentation of the knowledge that you are going to deliver to the class in order to attain those objectives that you have mentioned. In the first phase, that is pre-instructional skills, we've seen that objectives are written down. Objectives according to the topic, according to the size of the class, according to the duration, and according to your concept or your topic, objectives are written down. Once the objectives are written down, in the second phase, we have to arrange the content, or we have to sequence the content in an orderly fashion so that we can provide the knowledge in an efficient and effective manner. The objectives are to be met by teaching or imparting those knowledge to the students. So sequencing and orderly arranging those content also must be done before the instruction actually starts. In this, we have to arrange the content appropriately, appropriate content according to the topic, proper organization of the content, and also arranging and selecting the usage of proper aviates that are required for the particular topic. This all comes under pre-instructional skills. Now let us see what are instructional skills. The first one is skills of introducing a lesson. Suppose if I'm given this topic, before I actually jump on to what my topic actually is, how do I introduce my topic? What are the skills that a person required to introduce a topic is seen. First thing. The second one is skill of explaining and illustrating. This is instructional skill. That means the actual teaching process is going on right now. How to introduce the topic in an interesting manner so that you can have the attention of the students. And how do you explain and illustrate the particular topic? The skills that are required are also assessed in instructional skills in the second phase. The third one under instructional skills is reinforcement. The fourth one is probing questions to the students. And the last one is diagnosing pupil difficulties. Here, as a teacher or as an efficient teacher, the teacher should be able to also reinforce the student for their participation, must be able to encourage the student for their participation, and also provide them with rewards or punishment if they are not able to do so in a proper way. Reinforcement is the way through which we motivate the students, through which we gain the interest of the student. Skills are required for the teacher to reinforce the pupil as well, and the way or the skill of asking questions to the students in the class so that the session can be made interactive. And finally, as a good and efficient teacher, the teacher must be able to understand, in spite of her preparing a good class, in spite of her delivering a good class, what are the various difficulties that the students can face and what the teacher can do to help them overcome those difficulties. So all this comes under instructional skills. The teacher has to have the skill of introducing the topic, explaining and illustrating the topic, and not just explaining. The teacher has to know how to probe the questions to the students, how to encourage them for their participation, to motivate them, and finally how to diagnose the difficulties that the students may face in the classroom. The last one we have is post-instructional skills. Now, in the instructional skills, all the tasks are carried out by the teacher. So what is to be assessed in the post-instructional skills? Skills of writing test items, interpreting the pupil's performance in the test, and planning remedial measures. In the post-instructional skills, the teacher or the student or the trainee must be able to develop skills of writing test items or giving test items to the students, interpretation of the test result of the students, and finally, after the test result is interpreted, if the students lack in any of the activities or the student have not acquired enough knowledge, and after finding out the difficulties of the student, what can be done in order to make sure that the students overcome those difficulties must be found out by the teacher. Finally, we have feedback. Generally, feedback is taken after every session by the teacher in order to know the effectiveness of her class and how efficient she was in delivering the lecture. Several reliable sources can be used in order to make sure that the student or the trainee gets a proper feedback for their teaching session. The first one is oral feedback. Now, oral feedback from whom? Oral feedback from the supervisor or the actual teacher. Here, when we are saying teacher, it is the trainee teacher or the student teacher, right? So, there is a supervisor who is supervising the entire process, who is teaching them how to enhance their skills and what are the skills that are required. And oral feedback from the supervisor is also a way of acquiring feedback for their improvement. The next one is observation schedule that can be filled by other peer member who are also participating in the micro teaching process. So for a micro teaching, there can be other people, there can be other participants who are also part of micro teaching. They will be provided with observation schedule. They can fill those schedules and give their feedback to the particular trainee. And the last one is audio visual tape recording. Audio visual tape recording is one of the way through which the trainee or the student teacher can assess the efficiency or effectiveness of her class. The fourth characteristic is safe practice ground. So what does this mean? This means the trainee is given an opportunity to practice under a safe and controlled environment. Here the trainee is not exposed to a large audience at a time. The trainee gets to teach to a very small group of people, which is safe. The trainee is also supervised by the teacher who is expert in the teaching profession. The trainee is taught about various skills by the expert and they demonstrate those techniques they have learned in a very safe environment. Characteristic of micro teaching is to provide a safe practice ground for the student trainee as well. Let us now see what are the principles of micro teaching. The first one is enforcement. So enforcement here means practicing the skills and knowledge until one attains mastery over that particular skill or the knowledge. The student trainee gets to practice, and if not done effectively, they get to reteach the particular topic again. They get the feedback. Practicing, reteaching, getting the feedback and doing it again and again helps them to attain mastery over the particular skill. Next one is practice. Again, the same thing comes here. As I said in the beginning, teaching is a profession that requires vast range of skills. There are different skills that are to be developed to become a good teacher. Constant practice and drill by the trainee focusing on one particular skill will help them to develop mastery and become an effective teacher. The third one is continuity. We know that micro teaching is a continuous procedure. The students are given the topic, they have to do the skills that they require before the instruction are given to their student. Pre-instructional skills, they learn those skills. Then comes instructional skills, they learn and acquire those skills. Then finally, the post-instructional skills. Here in micro teaching, the students, once they learn the skill, are supposed to teach. They are supposed to get the feedback. They are supposed to reteach the same topic, again get the feedback until they gain the mastery over the particular skill. So the students are trained again and again continuously until they are trained well on that particular skill. The fourth one is microscopic supervision. Already this is micro teaching. A very small topic is given to a very small class. It should be taught and the timings are also very short. The duration is also very short. Here the supervisor or the teacher expert gets time to actually focus on one skill at a time, supervise the student about the particular skill and knowledge and give them or do the assessment on a rating scale. This helps the teacher to do microscopic supervision. That means to supervise and find out even the slightest or smallest of the mistake done by the trainee. This microscopic supervision is not done in order to demotivate the student or to find out the mistakes. It is done so that the students can be trained on those particular areas of deficiencies after the supervisor has actually found out about the deficiencies while teaching. Let us now see the phases of micro teaching. So micro teaching has basically three phases. The first one is knowledge acquisition phase. The second one is skill acquisition phase, and the third one is transfer phase. So from the term itself, you can understand knowledge acquisition phase, then skill acquisition phase, and then transfer phase. Let us see in detail what are these three different phases. The first one is knowledge acquisition. So here you can understand it is the trainee who has to have a proper knowledge about the topic. They have to acquire proper knowledge on the topic before they deliver the lecture to the students. So in knowledge acquisition phase, the student trainee will be able to learn about the skill and the knowledge through demonstration, through various illustrations and discussion which is given by the experts. In micro teaching, the student trainee is given demonstration, the student trainee is shown, illustrated and also trained by the expert to develop those skills and knowledge required for them to actually teach in a classroom. Here the student trainee attempts to learn how to develop those skills and how he can use those skills in the classroom to make the class effective. What can he do for this? He can read the related relevant literature in order to gain the knowledge and also observe mode of presentation of skills, therefore gaining both theoretical as well as practical knowledge on the particular skill. The first phase is knowledge acquisition phase. Here the experts will train the trainee, where they will illustrate them how to carry out a particular skill, what are the knowledge required, what he can do with those skills, how he can use those skills in a classroom to make the class effective. And for this, the trainee will read the relevant literature and practice those skills so that he or she can gain mastery over that particular skill. So in knowledge acquisition phase, here the trainee not only gets theoretical knowledge about the skill but also get to know the practical aspect of the particular skill. Next one is skill acquisition phase. On the basis of demonstration that is given by the experts to the trainee prepares a micro-teaching lesson plan and practice the skill. In the knowledge acquisition, they have gained enough knowledge, they have reviewed the literature that is relevant for their topic, and they have also seen how the particular skill is to be carried out within the classroom. So in skill acquisition, they make a lesson plan according to the topic of micro-teaching and they practice the skills accordingly. As I said, he continues to practice the skill and the knowledge acquired through micro-teaching cycle, which is teaching the class, taking the feedback, reteaching them, taking the feedback and continuing the process. Through micro-teaching cycle, he gets to learn more about the particular skill and practice that skill until and unless he or she gains mastery. Feedback component contributes immensely for attaining the mastery over the particular skill. And finally, we have transfer phase. So from the term itself, you can understand what is a transfer phase. In this, once the trainee has gained mastery over all the skills or knowledge that he or she have learned, they have acquired, they transfer the knowledge and the skills they have learned to a particular class, to a real class to which the particular trainee is to teach. By integrating all those skills and knowledge they have learned, they deliver the lecture to the class. Let us now see what are the merits of micro-teaching. The first one is helps the student to gain mastery over the skills of teaching, which is actually very hard to attain. To become a good and a competent teacher, it is very difficult. To gain all those skills to become a good teacher is very difficult. So during the period of college, during the student period itself, students are getting opportunity to train themselves in the particular field, in the particular skills of teaching, which is very much essential. Next one is provision of immediate feedback. So we all know while we provide immediate feedback to the students, we all know when immediate feedback is provided for anything, it motivates us. Even though the feedback is bad, we feel motivated to do better. And of course, if the feedback is good, we feel like keeping up with it. Providing immediate feedback is one of the way to motivate the students. Next one, it is considered as student-centric method. It is a student-centric method, obviously, because the student itself is playing the part of the teacher here. The students are given the responsibility of the teacher and the student or the trainee is teaching to a particular class. It is obviously student-centered. And the next one is makes a topic very efficient, effective and interesting. When a very small topic is taken and the student gains and acquires knowledge knowledge to delivers it to the class, it is obviously effective for the listeners and it is also interesting for the students to learn. Let us now see what are the demerits of micro teaching. The first one obviously is time consuming. So micro teaching is time consuming because topics has to be selected, it has to be given to each and every trainee students. They have to prepare their lesson plan, they have to get it corrected, they have to learn. The experts have to teach them or show them, demonstrate them the skills that are required. They have to practice those skills and then only they are finally delivering it to the class. Right? And there are several students in the classroom. So for those students to actually attain mastery over all those skills is really difficult and time consuming. And another and last benefit is that, as I said, the teachers will demonstrate or illustrate the skills that are required. So here in micro teaching, we are doing this so that the students get to learn the skills, they develop that skills and enhance their skill. But there is a risk that the students, while the experts are demonstrating, might just imitate the experts and not actually learn those skills to teach to a classroom. There is a risk of imitating the experts rather than learning the skills. These are the two demerits of micro teaching. To conclude, today we have seen what is micro teaching, what are the different characteristics of micro teaching, what are the different principles of micro teaching, and what are the phases of micro teaching. And finally, we ended up the session by learning the merits and demerits of micro teaching. I hope you've understood what micro teaching is and all the aspects that we have dealt today. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I'll see you all in the next session where we will discuss about another method of teaching. Thank you and have a great day.